What's something that like the family just broke you down and you shifted a belief?
I don't have one. I got nothing. There were not to say there weren't rough times, but you just go through them.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question because a friend of mine was at my house the other night and he was talking about his 20-year-old son and this idea of sowing your wild oats in your early 20s. And my friend made this really beautiful statement. He said, we should really move away from this. You're not getting it out of your system. You're putting it into your system and you're going to have to overcome it someday. So kind of sitting on the far other side of this, what would be your input to fathers, as we are getting our sons ready for early 20s, 30s, et cetera?
We never changed. They just like your daughter, they don't listen. They didn't listen all the time, many, many times. So it was more like if they did something wrong or were doing something, what you'll find as wait till they get married.
Wait, I was thinking it was going to get easier.
No. So what happens is they're going to go, like my oldest just went his own way for years. And all we could do is love him where he was at. He knew what we thought. We'd always tell him. We'd always point him to God. He always pointed him to the Lord, but you can't make him do it. You just love them until eventually they get it. And if they make a big mistake, hopefully they don't. It'll get better later. But the thing that's interesting on when they get married is then you got grandkids and then they're sort of running the family the way they think it should be run, right? And you go, I wouldn't do that. But you can't say a darn thing. You just got to go, no, it's their family and you encourage them and love them the best you can. And you'd like to, you just can't. When they start getting older, they got to go their own way and learn their own lessons. You can love them and lead them, point them to the Lord the whole time, but it's just the way it is.
Do you lean more? So say I was your kid and you see something. Do you lean more into like, hey, Ned, I noticed this and I want to share it with you? Or do you just let it go and then wait till I hit some roadblock and I'm like, Dad, I got a question for you. And what if I never ask? So what do you think?
Well, one of the things we do that's different than that is they'd inevitably be in trouble of some sort. And rather than telling them, and I'm very direct. So like, I don't pussyfoot around me. And like with my wife, I just tell her, just hit me in the head with a hammer. Don't pussyfoot around, just tell me what's wrong and I'll try to fix it. So I tend to be sort of direct, but loving, but it tends to work better if you pray over them in the situation. Because it's always loving and encouraging, however it comes out, in whatever the problem they're in.
So what about adult children?
Are you kidding? Then more.
But you're not coming to them saying, hey, I noticed, the way you talk to your kid or this, that, or the other. You're just...
Oh, you cannot do that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You can try to model something for them, but you can't. No, that's their deal.
Man, and I'll tell you this has been huge for me I think this came to me a couple of weeks ago. And I've been married 21 years. We're on our 22nd year right now. So we've been married a bit. And I talk about how important marriage is in the family. Marriage is really important, blah, blah, blah. But then I had this question. It's like, is my marriage something that my kids are falling asleep at night going, man, I really want to have what mom and dad have? And I got to tell you, I would say that there's a few days that the answer is no.
Yeah, but overall, it's yes.
Overall, it's yes. But I think it's like one of those things, because you brought up modeling. It's like, if I'm concerned about their stuff, if I'm concerned about who they're going to marry in 5 or 10 years, worrying it sure ain't going to do anything. Praying about it's great. But working on my own marriage and investing in that's probably the best darn thing I could do right now to model something that's worthy of wanting to be mimicked,
Yeah. Great.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. The podcast is called Fatherhood Field Notes. You're doing it just, stories popping in your head, sharing your life's field notes with us. The mantra behind it is rebel and create. As men, we want to be rebellious, not for the sake of being destructive, but to fight against something to then create something beautiful in its place. So for you, what's something that's either a life mission or something currently that you're rebelling against and you hope to create what in its place?
iPhone.
Yeah.
I'm turning it off before I go to bed, and it's off, because otherwise I get in it. And the other thing I'm doing is I don't have any social media, so that's not a problem for me. But I'm not perfect. by any stretch, but I'm trying not to get all enamored with everything that's going on in the world. Maybe I'm being naive. It doesn't do me any good. I just get anxious over it. So I just go, why bother? So I'm just not dealing with it. It's probably not the right thing to do.
No, but I think it's something to talk about for a second, right? Because you've seen more life than most of us listening to this right now. I think we can get really caught up in things that we don't have control over. And so I don't think we should put our heads in the sand. But then I feel like we get so wrapped up in these things that we have no control over. And then we don't lean into, like I said, our marriage, our relationship with our kids, or our own home. And I'm so consumed with what's happening outside the four walls of my house and less concerned with what's going on in here. And I believe, the whole reason I do this fatherhood thing is I believe if dads just paid attention to what was happening in the four walls that was entrusted to them, and probably what's entrusted in between your eyeballs, that the world would look different and better. We wouldn't have to worry about all the shenanigans going on out there.
Agreed.
Okay. So rebel against the iPhone. It's constant. It's a constant battle for sure.
And we don't watch TV, so that's not even an issue. Doesn't exist.
What do you do?
We live. We hang out. I work.
Oh, that's a really good answer.
We work. I work during the days. I take Fridays off, and then duck season I take a little bit more off. And then we do tons and tons of relationships and ministry things with homeless and young adults, and it never stops. Like probably every week we have one or two dinners or lunches or something, with usually dinners with somebody. Or we'll throw, we do a thing for the vets. And then we got a thing coming for a church that's a ministrant up in the poor area of LA. We're going to throw them a retreat for the weekend, and it's going to be one day, but there are going to be 60 of them and all their kids. And we're going to, we do that. Like we live it all day, every week, constantly. So we're almost too busy, frankly.
I love it. Yeah, but it keeps you young and alive, and yeah, that's beautiful. Gary, we have a few minutes left. Are there any stories or thoughts before I ask my final couple of questions?
The only thought I have, which is for you, is you are an incredible role model, and what you're doing is so important. People just don't. I'm glad you're bringing it to the forefront. I wish more people would. So, because guys just don't hear what you're trying to get out. And it's super, super, super important. So I'm just kudos to you for how the Lord's leading you and the men that are being impacted through your efforts.
Gary, thank you so much for saying that. And it's so interesting what it does to a man's soul. Like when you pause and say something kind, and I would say, you didn't say it to make me feel good. You're speaking life into me. And I think as men, we have the ability to speak life into people. Our wife, our kids, and then especially other men. And it's something different when it's like somebody who's a little bit ahead of you just kind of like acknowledges you. I think a lot of times as men, I think we look for acknowledgement from our wife too much. And that's why they probably look at us like we're a big old baby or another kid. But I think if us men kind of had that village mentality a bit more, and we're more generous to each other versus just cutting each other down, or sizing each other up, I feel like we would probably need that less from our spouse, or ask for it less.
I do have one more quick thing. I got a minute to do this because you're going to know this because we've had Greg, but one of the things I learned from Greg Gunn, a gentleman that both Nate and I know, is that we had a meeting where he talked about legacy planning and passing down your values, which are more important with your kid. My age, we were doing a trust. We were updating our trust, and then I went to this thing. And then the next thing you know, he said, money's the least important thing to pass down. It's the values. And so I called my wife while I was there, and I said, good grief, we're doing this wrong. I said, what are our top 3 values that we need to pass down? And we need to use our wealth to do that. And she said, loving God, loving others, which includes the family, and giving generously. I said, that's exactly who we are. You couldn't have pegged it better. And she said, all our kids know who we are. And now we're using our wealth to help pass those values down to our 3rd and 4th generations. So anyway, I figured I'd add that for...